All right, I'd like to welcome everybody to the regular meeting of the East Central Independent School District Board of Trustees being held on December 15th, 2020, beginning at 6:30 p.m. Madam Secretary, can we have a roll call?
Yes, sir. Del Brazil.
Present.
Mr. Gardner.
I'm here. I'm here.
Coach Smokey.
Yeah. Cutting
Present.
off. You're cutting off.
Um,
Here. That we have a quorum, so let's move on to prayer and pledge. Mr. Toscano?
Yes, sir. We have Miss Lewis from Legacy Middle School for our prayer and pledge this evening.
Good evening, parents, students, and community, and also our Board of Trustees. I am Dr. Lewis, the very proud principal of Legacy Middle School. And tonight, I want to introduce some of our awesome knights who are here to lead us in our pledge and our prayer. We're going to start with Harmony Wilson and John
you want to
Gomez,
nix
who are
that
going to
and
lead
get
us
Ashley
in
to
our Pledge
pull
of
it up
Allegiance.
and have a prayer? We can go to Miss Dr. Fuller to do a prayer, and Ashley can do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah, we can do that.
All right, let's move forward then.
Are we ready?
We're ready.
Heavenly Father, we come to you today to ask for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us engage in meaningful discussion, allow us to go closer as a group, and nurture the bonds of community. Fill us with your grace as we make decisions that affect students, staff, faculty, alumni, and friends of East Central. We ask these in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Will everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
To the flag of the United States, to the republic
For which it stands,
one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty
and
and
justice
justice for all.
Honor the Texas
the
flag.
flag. I pledge
Pledge
allegiance
allegiance to thee, Texas, one,
Under God.
under God, one, and indivisible.
Thank you, Dr. Fuller and Ms. Colas. That was wonderful. Let's move on to item 4, awards and recognition. Mr. Toscano, who do we have tonight?
Yes, sir. Well, we'll try the technology once again, and hopefully we have audio this time because we do have a few groups of students we want to recognize this evening. The first of which are some athletes who qualified as academic all-state. We also have some spelling bee winners and an Oak-Crest student who is a published author that we want to recognize this evening. So, Brandon?
There you go, Brandon.
All right, I think we got it. Good evening, board, and thank you, board members and Superintendent Toscano for recognizing some exemplary students in our district. First, I would like to recognize Evan Sanchez, a fourth grader at Oak Crest Elementary. Evan's love of writing was recently recognized by the editors of Live from the Southside magazine when they made him a contributing writer for their Kids Corner. Evan got his first taste of journalism with an article published in the Wilson County News in October as part of a social studies assignment. He found he enjoyed writing so much he wanted to continue and improve. After submitting an article on gaming for the magazine's December 2020 issue, Evan was named part of the team. We look forward to reading all of Evan's future stories. Second, I would like to recognize 3 seniors from East Central High School's football team, Christian Lensman, Noah Chavez, and Eric Espinoza. Lensman, a fullback, and Chavez, a place kicker, were both named to Academic All-State. Espinoza, a wide receiver, was named as an honorable mention. This is a big credit for our teachers and coaches in that we can produce well-rounded athletes both in the classroom and on the field. Finally, I would like to recognize Julian Hidalgo Sanchez, Amelia Lopez, and Melissa Medrano for their efforts in this year's District Spanish Spelling Bee. These 3 students were the champions at their respective grade level. Hidalgo Sanchez, a 5th grader from Oakcrest, won for elementary. Lopez, an 8th grader from Heritage, won for middle school. And Medrano, a sophomore at East Central High, won for high school. Congratulations to these bright young minds for their Spanish spelling bee victories. Thank you.
Is that it?
Yes, sir.
Congratulations to all those fine athletes and students. Will we, Ms. Colas, do we have anything for public comments?
No, sir, we do not.
We do not. All right. Well, that nixes item 5, public comments. We'll move on to item 6, public hearing for campus targeted improvement plan 2020-2021. Mr. Toscano?
Yes, sir. Before we hold a public hearing, I would like to provide the board and the public with a little bit of information around the targeted improvement plans, as well as some more specific campus improvement plans that show up later in the consent agenda, but wanted to provide a little background as part of the public hearing. So Jonathan is with us this evening, and he has just a few short slides to give the board some background information here. Jonathan?
Thank you, Mr. Massengale, Mr. Toscano, and members of the board for the opportunity to briefly share some information about the targeted improvement plan. I'm going to put it in present mode here. Hopefully it's not confusing. I'm logged in twice. A little technical issue, but I think I worked around it. So the targeted improvement plan, what they call is a TIP. It's required if a campus has a rating of improvement required, or if they have a label of comprehensive campus. And it's something that's based on the effective school framework, or that they like to use their acronyms. They call it the ESF, and I'm going to reference that in a moment for you. But it really follows a tight template from TEA where they want very specific things on there, and it goes through, and we fill in a lot of the boxes with our plans, and you'll see in a moment how it's very closely aligned to our improvement plans. And it's something that does require school board approval, which we're hoping we'll get today. So big picture, you have to remember the ratings. So the 2019-20, this school year's ratings were really based on our ratings from the prior year. Because of COVID, they didn't do any changes to it. So Highland Forest and Legacy are still under the improvement required requirements from the prior year, and then comprehensive. So it's a funny little different mechanism. So that has a 2 years to exit, and so Harmony met it the first year, and then last year would have been their second year to meet it. But since we didn't get the test, they're still swept up in that. And so you think about it. the ratings are really from 2019 for Legacy and Highland Forest, and are from the year before that, so 2018 for Harmony. So that's actually before Stephanie was even the principal at the campus that they picked up that label, and we're still having to do this paperwork based on that from that long ago. Now, whenever we look at the charts, we really want to call your attention to this. So this is the correlation chart we made, and so in the middle you can see the effective school framework here. So the ESF, this is what we're referencing. So there's 5 pieces that TEA based their whole system on, and in particular, I want you to see the 4th and 5th one here. The 4th one is high quality curriculum. The 5th one is effective instruction. These are going to be the key ones we're going to talk about in a moment, but I want you to notice how it matches up to the rest of our system. This is part of our guaranteed and viable curriculum in our effective teaching, learning, and reporting. You can see where it matches up in the Marzano system here. And more importantly, we start and end with our community-based accountability system. So what we're really going to be talking about is student learning in progress or post-secondary readiness. And I hope you'll see that in a moment when I link it to their external scorecards. Okay, so when you look at the TIP, it has a couple different sections to it. It has a foundation section where it goes through data analysis. And they want us to do fairly rigorous work there, going through, and we almost have to recreate their calculations of how they do their state accountability system. And so we met their requirements, and we did the data crunching, and we did those numbers. And then it's got a section where it does that ESF, that effective school framework, and it goes through the different levels for you. And we had Region 20 over the last 2 years come out to our campuses and rate, so that we were based on really factual information, and it gave us a clear template for what to do and kind of the foundation for our work for the last couple of years. There's a student tab where quarterly we track the data from prior years and then this year in each quarter up until the end of the year, so we can see, hey, is it reading, is it 6th grade math, is it 3rd grade science that we need to work on. It lets us kind of calibrate a little bit more, keep a close eye on it so that we can make necessary tweaks, make sure that our students are making the progress that we want. And finally, it does like a 3-month cycle. And this is really formatted very much like our campus improvement plan, or SIP. And so we based our SIP template on what TEA has used historically. So when you look at it, you'll see it's incredibly similar and hopefully very familiar. So most of what you're going to see in our targeted improvement plans is already represented in their campus improvement plans that you've seen earlier in the year. We just had to kind of translate it onto the template because all of our systems are aligned. So Harmony, looking at their targeted improvement plan, they based it on 5.1, which is objective-driven daily lesson plans with formative assessments. That's a mouthful way of saying that we're looking at the plans that we're doing every day and then looking at how we check on that and make adjustments as we go. And then data-driven instruction, how we're constantly looking at the results and making adjustments based on that. And so this information is what typically you'll see on our internal scorecards. And then down at the bottom, this is more the way you would see it on our external scorecard. So this is a snapshot from Harmony's external scorecard, and you can see there's a 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, and you can see where it matches up in our community-based accountability system. And then as a reminder over here, the green and orange are the ones, the green we're making some changes, and the orange are the bigger changes. So you can see that that's where they're making some of their biggest changes on campus, and the A meant that they're still making some adjustments after the first quarter to it. So to me, that says that it's an aligned system, right? We were working on it, we're making adjustments. Those are the important pieces. And I'm gonna go through the other 2 campuses now the same way. So Highland Forest, you'll see after we did the audit, was working on the same 2, the 5.1 and 5.3. That was what our recommendation when we collaborated with Region 20 based on the audit. And then you can see the same categories down here. And again, you can see it's all orange and green. In particular, they put an OT here, which says that they were on track with their plans so far after 1 quarter. To what degree is a growth mindset a part of how we do business at Highland Forest? Then you can see again some A's where we're making some adjustments. And then I'm going to come over here to Legacy. Now, Legacy's got a little different here. That they're not doing 5.3, they're doing 4.1, which in our system was curriculum and assessments aligned to the TEKS with year-long scope and sequence. So that's a fancy way of saying that we're really looking at what we're teaching and how we're measuring that progress. And so you can see how that all goes together, right? If we know what we're measuring and we're making great plans and we're measuring that daily, and then we're making adjustments as we go along, all three of these areas are working on work in conjunction. And you can see that their external scorecard in this area is identical to Highland Forest in these four, that they've got some orange and green, the same on track. And so hopefully you can see the whole system where it's all coming together, and how I believe that it was a little bit less arduous of a process for us. I really appreciate our campuses and how hard the teams with teachers and admin have worked in order to compile these plans to make sure we're doing great work, but not just great work, but work that also then aligns to these templates, these additional pieces that the state imposes on our campuses, and make sure that we're using it really for good, and that we're doing great things to help students and teachers take the next step. And so that's my brief overview of our target improvement plans. And let me know what questions I can answer for you.
You're muted.
Does anybody have any questions?
No, sir.
No. Would anybody like to speak in regards to the public hearing for Campus Target Improvement Plan 2020-21?
Nope. Not me.
I'm good.
No.
I'm good.
Okay, we'll move on to item 7, PHCS Public Hearing Financial Integrity Rating Systems of Texas Report. Mr. Toscano?
Yes, sir. The first report that TEA puts out annually, you're very familiar with, trustees. Each report is based on data from a year prior. This is TEA's way of ensuring that school districts are fiscally responsible, and that they're allocating to the extent possible as much financial resources to classroom instruction, to support classroom instruction, and that districts are doing that with integrity and with appropriate financial checks and balances and transparency. There are 15 financial indicators as part of the system, and school districts are assigned one of 4 letter grades, A, B, C, or F, and then a coinciding financial management rating of superior, above standard, meet standard, or substandard. This year, the district received an A, which is superior achievement, and scored a total score of 96. And I'm also happy to report that since the first ratings were implemented in 2001 and 2002, until today, the district has earned an A and a superior achievement rating each of the last 19 years. I'd be happy to answer any additional questions the board might have about this year's first report.
We're good. I'm good.
Does anybody have any questions?
No, sir.
Would anybody else like to speak in regard to the PHCS Public Hearing Financial Integrity Rating System of Texas? If not, we will move on to item 8, Superintendent's Reports. Mr. Toscano?
Yes, sir. On your agenda, under 8.1, you'll see a link to this month's personnel report for the board. You'll also see that there is 1 employee listed. We had an employee resign who received a promotion in a neighboring school district, where we worked together with that employee to set up an appropriate transition timeline, giving us the opportunity to ensure we were able to go on without that employee, and have since parted ways. I'd be happy to provide any additional information about that matter. If the board is interested, just let me know. In your miscellaneous packet for the month of December and January, just a couple of things to point out. I know that Mr. Massengale had sent out correspondence about the 17th being a possible special meeting. Is there any changes on that at this time, Mr. Massengale, or is that?
No, we're good. Let's move on. Let's see if we can get that one done Thursday, so we can see what they say and where we're going to move on. See what we need to do next.
Okay, so we'll send trustees information about that meeting. It's scheduled for 5:30, and you'll have the same options as you do tonight. You can attend at the board room in person, as some of you are tonight, or you could log into the Google Meet. Christmas holiday, winter break, the 20th through January 4th. So the district will be closed for the Christmas break. In January, you'll notice that the students do have a holiday on the 4th, that first Monday, and they start school again on the 5th. But on that Monday, staff will be back in the district preparing for students' return in professional learning. On the 18th, the district is closed for Martin Luther King holiday. It's a student and staff holiday. And then our next regularly scheduled board meeting is at 6:30 in the boardroom on January 21st. That's all I have.
That it for the upcoming events as well?
Yes, sir.
Does anybody have any questions as regards personnel report or upcoming events?
No, sir.
Nope.
No, sir, I'm good.
All right, we'll move on to item I, action agenda 9.1. Mr. Scott, approval of the architectural design and construction administration services HVAC replacement at East Central High School South Campus. Mr. Toscano?
Yes, sir. Mr. President, trustees, as you know, all are aware, in 2008, as part of that bond program, due to some savings at the end of that project, we were able to do some renovations at South Campus. The one area that we did not renovate at that time was the cafeteria. The HVAC system in the rest of South Campus did get attention, but that cafeteria has a more than 20-year-old system that is in need of being replaced. And so I'd like for Mr. Morgan to give the board a little bit of background on that before we make a recommendation for architectural services. You're muted, Mr. Morgan.
I apologize. Like Mr. Toscano mentioned, it's a 20-year-old system, and they no longer make parts for that system, making it obsolete. Because it's a different model number, it requires architectural services to retrofit the curb or where the ducting comes into the building from the roof, and also to ensure that the roof system can handle the weight of the new unit. We don't suspect that it'll be a drastic difference, but by law, we're required to ensure that since it goes on the roof.
And Mr. Morgan, we intend on installing that in-house?
Yes, and so we have staff on board. We have 3 HVAC technicians that will be able to rent a crane, remove the existing unit, and then place the new unit back in place.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan.
Any questions? We plan on doing the work in January, or start the work in January, just so that it's in place before the weather starts getting warmer by spring break. Should not impact the school day, though, for students.
So trustees, as a result of the need to retrofit a new system on essentially a footprint on the roof that was designed for a more antiquated unit, architectural services are required so that we can provide the specifications. They can match the specifications on the roof curbing to make sure that it will receive that HVAC unit. And the second thing that the architect will need to do is ensure that it's engineered, the roof system is engineered to handle the weight of the new unit. And so what we're bringing to you tonight is a recommendation for architectural services for that purpose. As you all know, architectural services are made based on, or are procured based on demonstrated competence and qualifications to perform those services at a fair and reasonable price. And so Pawanka Sturrock Architects is an architect firm that the district has done a lot of business with over the years. And most recently, Pawanka Sturrock has done architectural services for us at Cass Lead for those renovations, as well as the roof replacement at central office. And Matt, you may mention a few other projects of note that Pawanka Sturrock has provided those services for this year.
So most recently, last summer, we had the Heritage Foundation repair, as well as as you might recall, the cracks in some of the cinder block walls. They've also done the freezer cooler replacement at Heritage, as well as several other freezer cooler replacements for child nutrition at various campuses over the last couple of years.
I got a quick question. I'm assuming that, have we, the new model number or the new unit, have we checked and see the availability of this particular unit, make sure that, we've been seeing at my business, we've been seeing a huge backlog on getting availability of said units or said equipment, and doing through COVID and everything else that's going on nowadays. Have we checked in to see if that particular model unit is going to be available when it needs to be installed? Or
so there's a lot of coordination that's involved. The unit, I am fairly certain, is a carrier unit, and it's been located in Dallas. Because we have to rent a crane, we have to coordinate with the trucking company. So when the new AC unit comes, we can coordinate with the crane company to take it off at the roof at the same time. So I don't know all the exact details, but I know we've had conversations of that coordination process. So,
okay, so the particular model number of the carrier unit that you're looking at purchasing is there availability in stock? So that's okay. Good deal. So there wouldn't be any delay then.
They have to identify that information. We have to still run it through the architect to make sure that model number will be adequate and suffice. But they have identified the unit that they'd like to put up there.
Okay. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate that.
Sure. So if is there any other questions?
Yeah, Matt, is there any impact on the warranty if we install it ourselves?
I will have to look into that. I know we've replaced several models over the last couple of years that I've been involved in the facility management, and I do not think that has impacted the warranty. But I will double check that and get back with Mr. Toscano to pass along that information.
Thank you.
And Matt, I had a different kind of a question, and based on what's been discussed, and because of COVID, and because this is in the cafeteria area, right?
Yes.
Is there any opportunity for us in the beginning of the year to get, I don't know if the word is reimbursement, but some funding to help with that, since that would directly relate to the safety and protection of the students and the staff. So I'm just curious, is that far-fetched?
So we do have a partnership with Clear Results, who is a firm that identifies rebates, and we typically get those from CPS. I know at last board meeting we did get a rebate from CPS for demand response, but we've also done many projects, including lighting and other AC units that have been replaced that we have gotten refunds for. We just completed a big project where just replacing the air filters and getting them cleaned by an outside firm paid for itself. And so Julio Alonso and Linda Cavazos have done a really good job, in my opinion, identifying those rebates and bringing money back to the district when we do upgrade our facilities for energy conservation.
Okay.
But as far as COVID related reimbursement, I'm not aware, but that is something definitely we can look into.
Thank you.
Yeah. Are there any other questions? With that being said, staff has recommended Pawanka and Sturrock Architects. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan.
To provide architectural design and construction administration services for work related to the HVAC replacement for the East Central High School South Campus cafeteria. The district has worked with the Pawanka Sturrock on several projects in the past. The fees for their services will be based on the basic fee schedule for architectural services that was previously adopted by the board.
All right. Thank you, sir. Mr. President, I recommend board approval of contracting with Pawanka Sturrock Architects, LLC for architectural design and construction administration services related to the aforementioned HVAC replacement at the South Campus cafeteria as presented.
We have a recommendation from the superintendent to approve the architectural design and construction administration services HVAC replacement at East Central High School South Campus. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Who was that? Victor? You have a motion from Mr. Victor Garza. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Second from Dale Brazil. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
All opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll move on to 9.2 District Extension FFCRA leave. Mr. Toscano?
Yes, sir. Trustees, as part of a federal program that you're familiar with during this pandemic, FFCRA has been available for employees who have to be out for COVID-related reasons. The leave is associated with FMLA. But what essentially happens is for the first 2 weeks of an employee's FMLA, if they have to be quarantined because of COVID-19, they could get the first 2 weeks paid for without having to use their leave. And that's a federal option that currently exists. There are other options that the board took action on earlier in the year, and that would be that if they needed more time than that, or that they needed to have leave due to COVID-related lack of childcare, that they could have an additional 10 weeks, but they would only receive 60% of their pay to do so. And the board had a long discussion about that during the onset of this pandemic. That program and the board's decision within that to not allow employees to top that off to get 100% of their pay has worked for us. What it's successfully done is enabled us to work with each employee case by case and make a decision about whether federal leave was appropriate or whether some of their personal leave made more sense or whether a temporary remote work assignment, depending on their role, made more sense. And if they worked remotely, they didn't need to take any leave. And in a few cases where there were teachers, for example, an AP calculus teacher, the only calculus teacher we have, in order for the students to not have a substitute in AP calculus, we allowed their teacher to provide synchronous instruction, short-term assignment while they were quarantined. And in that, so what we're proposing is that the board considers adopting a resolution tonight that should this program end December 31st, like it is scheduled to end, and the federal government chooses not to extend it, that the board would give me the latitude to continue to offer the first 2 week portion of this leave in the same manner that it currently exists for employees who have not already used it, who find themselves in a qualifying condition. Qualifying conditions must be COVID related for the employee specifically. And so essentially, the board would consider adopting this resolution tonight. Should the federal government choose to extend the program, then there would be no need to implement a local version. If the government does not extend that program, we just want to make sure that we're incentivizing employees who test positive or who are exhibiting symptoms of COVID-19, that they continue to be cautious and don't come to work for fear that they won't have any options for leave. So this program, again, has worked well for us. I believe we've got in the neighborhood of 40 employees, roughly, give or take a few, who have taken advantage of this leave since the onset of the pandemic in March. In most cases, we've been able to work with employees on a case-by-case basis to ensure that they got the care that they needed and that they were back at work sooner than later. And while at work, everybody was safe. So we feel like continuing to offer a similar option locally would be wise since we're still going to be in a pandemic in the spring. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Again, this is going to mirror what already exists. This would not be an additional 2 weeks for employees who have already used the 2 weeks. The federal program was just a one-time 2 weeks, or you could use parts of those days, but it couldn't accrue to more than 10 working days, essentially. Once you accumulated 10 working days in the year, you no longer had access to that emergency leave. And so this would mirror that.
Does anybody have any questions, concerns?
Nope.
No? I guess we can move on, Mr. Toscano.
Mr. President, I recommend board approval of the
Thank you.
resolution as presented.
We have a recommendation from the superintendent to approve the district extension FFCRAL leave. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Have a motion from James Mulkey, and we have a second from Claudia Barrientos. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right. Item 10, consent agenda. Would anybody like to pull anything from the consent agenda?
I'm good, thank you.
Nope. Does anybody, I need a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Have a motion?
So moved.
Who was that?
Steve Bryant.
Oh, Steve Bryan. Do I have a second?
Second. That was big. Second.
Vic Garza, second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right. Move on to item 11, adjournment. Do I have a motion and second?
Motion. So
We have
moved.
a motion. And we have a second from Claudia Barrientos. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We are done.
Record time.
Thank y'all for showing up for the meeting via Zoom. Appreciate everything, and we will see you on Thursday at 5:30.
All right.
Mr. Trustees, I have one update for you. I did speak to Julio, and he did confirm that the AC unit that we prefer to replace the one at the cafeteria with is available in stock, and our installation plan will not void the warranty.
Nice. Thank you.
Very good.
All right. We'll see y'all at 5:30 on Thursday. Give me a
All
call.
right.